Let's take a trip into our past.
Now you will say you are seeing today an all-out attempt to marshal the forces of the opposition, using not merely the communists, but the fellow travelers, the deluded liberals, the eggheads, and some of my good friends in both the Democrat and Republican parties, who can become heroes overnight in the eyes of the left-wing press if they will join with the jackal pack.
Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. We have a powerful and important program, so I hope you stay through the whole thing. You won't be sorry. Buying political power. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Factor has been investigating far-left billionaire George Soros, a man who wants to impose a radical left agenda on America. And under the radar, he is making great progress. Soros has set up a complicated political operation designed to do two things: buy influence among some liberal politicians and smear people with whom he disagrees. Now, here's a chart of how Soros and a few other wealthy radicals who help him are funneling money into the political process. Stay with me on this.
Bill tells us he's worried about the buying of political power. With a cheesy chart, he's going to show us a flow of money to Media Matters, a website he's endlessly slandered on his show. After Bill's done, I'll point you in the direction of a real political influence peddler who has O'Reilly firmly stashed away in his wallet.
Most of Soros's political money flows through his Open Society Institute. You see it there on the left, which is almost unlimited funding. Since 2001, according to federal documents, the Open Society Institute has given nearly $20 million to the Tides Foundation, right below that, an astounding amount. Now, Tides, in turn, funnels the money to a variety of radical hatchet men who are all well paid. For example, Tides has donated millions to the vile propaganda outfit Media Matters, which specializes in distorting comments made by politicians, pundits, and media people. Media Matters is an internet site, but directly feeds its propaganda to some mainstream media people, including elements at NBC News, columnists Frank Rich and Paul Krugman at the New York Times, columnist Jonathan Alter at Newsweek, and Bill Moyers at PBS. In fact, as president of the Schumann Center Foundation, Moyers oversaw at least a $500,000 transfer of money to Media Matters. We'll have more on that tomorrow. Now, George Soros is also pouring money into the Center for American Progress, run by former Clinton aide John Podesta, and the Democracy Alliance Group, both of which fund Media Matters as well. So you can see an enormous amount of money this Media Matters has control of. Finally, George Soros has given the radical left organization Move On many, many millions of dollars. This group actively supports liberal politicians like Howard Dean and John Edwards. It also organizes demonstrations promoting left-wing causes. So you can see how powerful this guy Soros has become. He can smear anyone he wants in a variety of ways. His organizations can raise millions for politicians who will do his bidding. Thus, he can demand that politicians running for office do what he tells them to do. If a liberal politician doesn't toe the Soros line, he or she will be denied funding and brutally attacked. Just ask Senator Joseph Lieberman about what Move On and Media Matters did to him. Now, Talking Points has reason to believe John Edwards is taking orders from the Soros group right now, and other Democratic politicians may be as well. The goal of George Soros, Peter Lewis, Susie Tompkins Buell, and other radical financiers is to buy a presidential election. By that I mean find and fund a candidate who will tacitly do what he or she is told to do. In the past, big business has been accused of doing just that. Now it is the likes of George Soros, an extremist who wants open borders, a one-world foreign policy, legalized drugs, euthanasia, and on and on. My book, Culture Warrior, documents the Soros policy and his tax-evading businesses located in Curacao and Bermuda. The really frightening thing about all this is that most Americans have never even heard of George Soros. This is off-the-chart dangerous, but completely legal under the McCain-Feingold Act. In the weeks to come, we'll have more on Soros and his operations, including naming more of the mainstream media that is actively helping him, which includes Rosie O'Donnell. And that is the memo.
So there you have it. Bill's donned his tinfoil hat once again to expose a massive conspiracy headed by billionaire George Soros, who through some Rube Goldberg PowerPoint slide is now the puppet master of the Democratic candidate John Edwards. In the center of all this is the sinister website Media Matters with some enormous power to move public opinion in America. Let's take a quick look at Media Matters. They are an openly liberal organization describing themselves as a progressive research and information center dedicated to correcting conservative misinformation in the U.S. media. No surprise that Media Matters has Bill squarely in their crosshairs, the real source of Bill's constant and inaccurate attacks against them. Bill's an utter hypocrite because Media Matters has a long-standing request to appear on his show to rebut his many smears. Media Matters also carefully documents their assertions. Here's an example that goes on for pages and pages and pages Well, you get the picture. But the central issue here isn't Bill O'Reilly smearing Media Matters without substantiation, while Media Matters carefully documents their arguments in full context with transcripts, research, links, sound, and video clips. The core issue is influence peddling. Balance Media Matters' influence with Bill's. Millions watch him up to 3 times a day on Fox News Network. He has a blog on Fox News' website. He has a radio show where countless more catch his spin. Then there's the Bill O'Reilly website to feed his cult of personality. Multiply Bill by all the other conservative Fox News voices, big and small, and you have a megaphone dwarfing Media Matters and a couple of liberal pundits picking at its research now and then looking for some leads. Still, we're dealing with small potatoes. Standing over Bill is the man who signs Bill's paycheck, Rupert Murdoch, arguably the most powerful media mogul in the world. Now, I could play Bill's data mining game to easily paint Rupert as a right-wing ideologue, a nice counterweight to the liberal boogeyman he's built George Soros into. Murdoch's British tabloid The Sun actively campaigned against Liberal Labour Party candidate Neil Kinnock, with one headline proclaiming, "If Neil Kinnock wins today, would the last person to leave Britain please turn out the lights?" When Kinnock lost, they patted themselves on the back with the headline, "It's the Sun what won it." Murdoch's a self-proclaimed libertarian with a seat on the board of directors for the Cato Institute. Murdoch's backing helped propel conservative Margaret Thatcher into power. He supported Ronald Reagan. But Murdoch's political influence peddling is about building his media empire first, politics second, which explains how he can spread his generosity to Democrats Ed Koch and Hillary Clinton and Labor's latest leader Tony Blair. Though it's interesting to note, there's some debate whether or not Murdoch helped influence Blair's enthusiasm for invading Iraq. Which brings us back full circle to Fox News, because they were Murdoch's megaphone in this endeavor as well. Fox News and all 175 of Murdoch's newspaper holdings editorialized in favor of the war. Did Murdoch think a war was good for the media business, or was he pursuing political interest? And who really is more dangerous, Media Matters or Rupert Murdoch? So why is Bill O'Reilly so mad at Media Matters?